Hello, it's me, Gage, and today I'm going to make a very special video based on two games in the same series. Injustice Gods Among Us and Injustice 2, and I'm going to go over which game is better. Now, the first thing we're going to look at is the cover art. Now, if you just look at the two covers, you can tell they're quite different from each other. Injustice Gods Among Us has very good cover art that showed pretty much what the game was about. Heroes fighting heroes, villains fighting villains, and every sorts of the matter. Injustice 2 just shows either Superman, Batman, or Supergirl just standing there. Nothing really going on except the background might be a little messed up. So I think the cover art win definitely goes over to Injustice 1. Now let's go over the story. The story in Injustice 1 is very well written and very well done. All of the characters feel like they have a purpose in the story. No matter how little their role is, they still feel like they have a purpose. Even though Bane didn't do anything, he felt like he had a purpose as a thug because, well, he's Bane. He did his own. And the way it just pretty much unfolds throughout the story is pretty fantastic, and the chapters for each character are quite fantastic. The story in Injustice 2 is very well done. Most of the characters feel like they have a purpose, but a lot are kind of useless to have around, like Atrocitus and Joker. They only show up once and are never really seen again, as well as others. You only fight Deadshot once. But everyone else just kind of felt useless and just kind of felt like they were just thrown in there just so they could have them be there. And I think you only fight Captain Cold once as well. And the chapters are pretty good, but could also use some work. Now let's go over what makes NetherRealm games NetherRealm. Their deaths. The deaths in Injustice 1 were heartbreaking to see pretty much every time. Shazam's death was extremely heartbreaking because when you think about it, he's just a child. An innocent boy who looked up to Superman as an idol and was starting to see what he was doing was wrong. He didn't see it was right to just kill innocent civilians to send a message. And he was killed for it. Lex was a hero trying to stop Superman and was killed because of it. The deaths in Injustice 2 aren't nearly as heartbreaking or even that impactful. The most of these serve as some shock. Dr. Fate was sad because he was under the control of the gods, but we never actually got to see his personality or what kind of guy he was. I know I left out the personality thing there, I ran out of characters. And Grodd was just a shit villain that was annoying pretty much throughout the story, so we never really felt sad for him. Now, let's go over the roster. The roster in Injustice 1 is great. It's full of fan favorites and new characters to introduce to new fans. It had great DLC characters, outstanding costumes, and great combat. The roster in Injustice 2 is great. It's full of many different characters that some new fans won't know. Great DLC, gear is fun, but it's an incredible pain to grind for. The combat is great, but currently there is a bit of a zoning meta because it's so easy to win just to stay back and start shooting your opponents with Deadshot or Captain Cold or Black Adam. So the better game is Injustice Gods Among Us. It's pretty clear why. The first game's story was far better and the character choices were better as well. It had a lot of great things to it that the second one was missing. The second one's story was a direct pickup, but lacked any real force that the original had. The original had so much story to it that the second just, like I said, couldn't capitalize on a second time. And if you go over which game has more content, I'm willing to bet that Injustice 1 had far more content to it than Injustice 2. Star Labs were much better featured than the multiverse, because all multiverse is a bunch of random towers with different stat augments or different win things. It's pretty much like test your luck, but you can have a little bit of aid here and there. While in Injustice 1, the Star Labs gave you pretty much mini-games for every character, Some people didn't like them, but they were new content that people could like. And I did like some of the minigames, and I was kind of bummed to see them leave. And in the first game, the combat was much more fair, and zoning was far easier to punish, as there were actually quite very few zoners. Deadshot was pretty much the only one that people would spam with. Green Arrow would be okay. Green Lantern was also a bit of a spammer, but you could easily counter all of these people like it was nothing. So yes, the better game is clearly Injustice Gods Among Us. Plus, there is a little bit of nostalgia factors going for the first game, since it did introduce me to Lobo, who is my current favorite comic book character of all time. So, that was the video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share if you'd like. See ya!